Good day, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining us today for the third session of Synergy Digital Talks, exploring the technology in action. My name is Sergey Gasparyan. I'm Business Development Executive at Synergy, and I'm very honored to be your host for this session as well. In the previous session, we talked about various ways to enhance aid effectiveness in several countries using technologies from the perspective of government and development partners. And in particular, we explored the current affairs and steps that are being undertaken when a country initiates a digitalization process. We learned how countries manage those systems and overall digitalization on the cases of the Seychelles, Zimbabwe, and Ghana. Also, we discussed how development partners assist countries during that process, be it at the technical assistance, policy, or reform level, based on the inputs more precisely from IATI and UNDP. If you missed the last session, you could go to our YouTube channel very soon and watch them, and we're going to send all the recordings via email as well. In today's session, we have invited two Synergy experts, Haik Manukyan, PFM Program Director, and Siranush Khachaturian, PFM Project Coordinator. And together, we will explore the actual implementation process, the step of system development following the activities initiated by the government and development partners. Today, we will talk about the technical aspect, as well as discuss what is needed for complete system adoption by the government and its sustainability in the long run. As always, please feel free to address your questions to our speakers in the group chat, and we will respond to them at the end. Okay, let's start. Hi. My first question would be addressed to you. You started your career as a software developer, then became a team lead, and then project manager. You worked directly with IT teams and managed the development of IT systems in different countries for different ministries in the domains of monitoring and evaluation, water and sanitation, climate, labor, and of course, public finance management. You have also participated in the system design stages and contributed to the improvement of government processes with your expertise. What are the options for the government when choosing a system?
Thank you, Sergey, for the introduction. Hi, everyone. So in general, I will identify three general different ways on how the government systems can be developed. So one way is to procure fully ready off-the-shelf solution and try to adapt your local needs under that requirements of that system, because it is already done, it is kind of hard-coded, it already have the rules there, so you have to adapt your needs under the system requirements. However, as a rule, they may be not easily adapted, so you cannot just take and change your processes, so there are pros and cons there. So the second approach is to develop a bespoke system from the scratch. So here you have more flexibility because you are designing the system from the very beginning, so you are considering all the needs of government. But the risks here are in a different way, which is it will take longer because you have to develop everything from the scratch, and the risk is high regarding the quality, because everything is new, is not tested in live environment. So the second option is that one. And the third one is kind of mix of first two, where you are taking or having the ready off-the-shelf components or blocks and trying to use those components to design a system specifically for the needs. So here is kind of win-win situation where you're having a technology which is well tested in the industry, and second, you're having a system which is exactly covering the needs that the country has. So as part of this hybrid approach, the government team is empowered to manage and maintain the system on their own. So after you finish the implementation, as here you're having low-code approach, even their administrators will be able to do modifications later on. The result is a sustainable and more cost-effective solution in a long run.
Basically, this means that there is some sort of hybrid way of giving a solution to that. Okay, in that sense, let's consider a situation when the government is ready to adopt the system and we are sure that the system is needed in a country. What are the next steps from the point of view of the government and also from the development company?
Yeah, so the first step for me and my team is designing the scope and the overall coverage of the system, understanding the data scope, validations, rules, everything there, as well as mapping the data with third-party systems, because integration is becoming more crucial in the requirements, so that should be well designed from the very beginning. So we always conduct a detailed need assessment, because usually in TOR documents, the requirements are very high level and do not cover all the needs in very details. So the need assessment from the scratch is still needed, so we're doing it as a must. Then based on the real detailed needs, we're designing system design document, which includes needs and solution. And only after getting approval from client side on the solution, starting the implementation. During the first Synergy Digital Talk session in this series, so we learned about Seychelles case. So I want to just bring one example on that specific case. So what we have done there, it was a bit different. So what was our approach? It was 2 weeks need assessment mission. I was involved in that project for need assessment. So in parallel, let's say, assessing the needs, discussing it with clients, agreeing what are the needs. In parallel, we, instead of creating wireframes or mock-ups, we decided to go with, as I mentioned it in the beginning, in low-code approach and start real system design. So we designed it or created the actual system. So at the end of the mission, I presented actual working system, not a wireframe. So what was the benefit? First, client or our colleagues from Seychelles see the actual system in action, how it will work. Sure, they come up with some comments, because wireframes or theoretically discussing is different. When you see the actual system, it's completely different. So from the very beginning, they had that feeling and see visually how the system will function. So they did the comment from the very beginning, which sure we consider it when finalizing, because during the first 2 weeks it was just a skeleton of the project, not ready to go live. So after that, in short period, we did all the adjustments in the system. Then, as a result, when we came to system handover and training phase, we had a situation when we get very few comments from client side, because from the very beginning they already know what they are going to receive at the end. So this helped us from both sides to save a lot of efforts, and also for them to receive what they really need. So this approach was very effective for everyone.
Ike, overall, do you think this was a viable approach to minimize later on ongoing changes during system development and system configuration?
Yeah, definitely. I think this approach should be taken in all cases when you can go with low-code approach. Sure, for some systems may be a need for some two specific components, which is still fine. You can go with wireframes and mockups, but the overall architecture you can design from the very beginning, present them, keep them involved in the process of implementation.
Excellent. So I think the audience might ask from where we have this core version of the aid information management system. And the reason for that is that our technology was used to develop the aid information management systems for 37 countries around the world during the last 26 years. And some people from the audience might also remember the initial name of those type of systems, known as the Development Assistant Database. So this experience gives Synergy strong expertise and technical capabilities to build, launch, and introduce aid information management systems in many new countries. Now, speaking of configuring the system, Siranush, you were the project coordinator of the work done for the government of Seychelles, and you were the key person working with the software configuration team, and you conducted the trainings with the staff of the ministry. So would you please showcase for everyone the current system coverage so we can all have an understanding of the modern aid information management system based on the work done for the Seychelles Islands?
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Sergey. As Sergey mentioned, I'm Siranush, and I was the key person responsible for delivering the aid management information system for the government of Seychelles. And today I will take on the role as an employee at the Ministry of National Planning, Finance and Trade and show you the process that project goes through whenever it is approved and funded by a donor organization. Let me just share my screen.
And for general note, I just want to add that whatever we are going to see today is using demo data. It is just another of the representations, possible representations of the aid information management systems.
Okay, so I will log in as a user. And here I am redirected to the main application where I can see on the left-hand corner the workspace where are the main modules such as the project, the contract, the donor profile, and foreign donations. So initially I will register the project in the following module. Here I already have some registered contracts, and this acts kind of like an inventory of all the models that have been in projects that have been registered. I can filter and search in the projects. For the purpose of this demo, I will show a project that has already been registered. The project section is consisting of the following sections: general information, sectors and locations, organizations, and result-based framework. In the general information sector, we can fill in information about the project, such as the title, the implementing institutions, the project types, the beneficiaries, etc. Also, we have possibility to input some financial information, such as the main components of the project and the amounts that will be covered. Within the project calendar, we can mention the project dates, and here we have a very interesting solution where the system will automatically calculate the project duration based on the start and end date. And finally, we have the list of the contracts that are associated with the given project. This list is automatically generated based on the contracts that we create later on within the scope of the given project.
Tirano, so basically that last part is coming from another section of the system. Is that correct?
Yes, exactly. So in the modules, we have contract, and whatever we register here and associate with the project, it will be displayed in the given table. Next, we have the sectors and locations. In the sectors, we can mention the sectors that the given project will be targeting. It is possible to mention more than one sector, as you can see. And we also have a column which shows the percentage of the involvement of the given sector in the project. For example, in our case, the given project targets social development for 40%, while environment for only 10%. We also have possibility to provide justifications for choosing those sectors. In the location sector, we can mention the specific locations where the given project will be carried out. It is also possible to mention that the given project will be carried out nationwide throughout the country. In the organization sector, we can provide information about the donor organizations that are funding the project. As you can see, it's possible to mention more than one donor. And we also have possibility to mention the administrating agency. As you know, all projects are successful if they are monitored and if they are evaluated. For this reason, we have implemented a section where we can monitor and evaluate consisting of the given layers. The project goal, which specifies the specific goal that the given project, the specific objectives, the main objectives, again, that we are trying to have at the end of the project, and our immediate results. So what have we actually achieved by implementing this project? In order to be able to measure all of these layers, we can use different indicators, and indicators are possible to attach to any given layer. In the given case, we have an indicator attached to the immediate result, which measures the growth in the number of skilled jobs in the marine biotechnology sector. If I open the indicator, here we can see that it is possible to measure the baseline, that is the measure that we had before starting the project, what we have targeted to achieve at the end of each consecutive year, and our actual results. By doing so, we can measure and see how much we are achieving our targets. As you can see, for the given intermediate result, we have achieved 72% of our target. However, it's easy to also notice the bottlenecks, as there are many sectors which are not achieving as much as the target was setting out to be. After registering my project, I can move on and already register information about the contracts that will be executed within the scope of this project.
Siranush, so basically in this example, we have projects, we have contracts, and later on, I think we will show the section of foreign donations as well. What is the logic behind projects and contracts in this context?
Yes, so basically projects are our big initiatives, large initiatives, but in order to achieve those initiatives, we are collaborating with different stakeholders, with different agencies, and within this collaboration, we draft contracts, we sign contracts with third parties, which will help us to achieve our goals set out in our project. So within the contract, we have possibility of registering all the information to show that who are the agencies that we are cooperating with and what is the scope of work that is to be done. Again, in the contract sector, as you can see, we have a portfolio where again we can see the list of all the contracts that have been registered in the system. And again, we can filter and search. The contract section is again consisting of different sections. For example, general information, organizations and contacts, financial information, notes and attachments, and quarterly report. In the general information, we provide some general information about the contract. For example, the title, in the given case, it's Service for Technical Assistance of Project Implementation Consultants, the contract type, the summary description. Here we have the contract calendar where we can mention the contract start and end dates. Here we differentiate between the planned dates and the actual dates. Again, the same scheme works here where the system will calculate the durations based on the planned start and end date. It is worth mentioning that here we have a validation which will ensure that our contract dates do not fall outside of the project dates. And the last section in the given tab is the deliverables. With the help of deliverables, we can find out the scope of the work that is to be done. And for that purpose, we register the given information, the title of the deliverable, the summary description, the estimated deliverable completion date, and any disbursements that have been made for the given deliverable. The disbursement section will be displayed in the financial tab. The next section that I would like to speak about is organizations and contacts. So here we can see two main tables. One of them capture information about the donor organization, while the second one will capture information about the contract implementers. I would like to mention here that in case of donors, I will only be able to choose the donor organization that is already mentioned in the project. While in case of implementers, I can choose all the implementing organizations that will be carrying out this contract. And finally, I have possibility to provide information on contact information on both donors and implementers. These are the contact people that the user will be in contact with for the carrying out of the given contract. Now, let's move on to the next tab, which is financial information. In the financial information tab, we have different sections. The first section gives an overall overview of the financial situation, such as the planned contract cost and the actual contract cost. Again, here we have a validation where we ensure that the contract cost does not exceed the project cost. And in case there is more than one contract associated with a given project, the total sum of the contract cost will not be higher than the project cost. We have a section here which will display automatically the total commitments made within the given contract, the total disbursements, and the pending disbursements. The total disbursements are those disbursements that have already been executed, paid, while the pending disbursements are the commitment is the sum of the commitments that have not yet been disbursed. And finally, we have a modified actual cost. Here we display if the contract cost has been modified. Now let's look at all the tables with the help of which we generate this information. Commitments and disbursements. We have possibility to create commitments. And for that purpose, we input information about the commitment title, the funding institution, the funding type, date, and the amount. Under each commitment, we have possibility of adding disbursements. And again, for disbursements, we have possibility to input the title, the disbursement type, the disbursement amount, and a date. Please note that we always associate the disbursements with a specific deliverable. And for disbursements here, we also have a status. For example, the pending disbursement means that this disbursement has not been approved yet and it is not paid. Therefore, this disbursement will not be displayed in the total disbursement and it's still in the pending column. The next table I would like to show helps us to calculate the cost modifications. In the given example, as you can see that we started with an amount of $81,000 and a variation, an addition of 20,000 has been made on the given date. And for that purpose, our actual contract cost has increased to 101,000 USD. It is possible to add more than one change. In the last table, we track the deliverable costs, and in this case, we have possibility to show the deliverable cost with the help of percentage or with the help of an amount. If I input the percentage, the system will automatically calculate the amount it will make up of the contract. In the given case, 14% of this deliverable will be around $14,500, or I can write the amount and it will help me to calculate the percentage. And finally, we have a table which is a report which shows the number of disbursements which have been made for the given year for a deliverable.
So, Cyrianos, basically, you showed us how to add information and how to capture the information within the system, okay? But can you elaborate more on how this data can be later on used by the government and the public, how it can be analyzed and reported?
Of course, Sergey. So before moving on to that, I will just like to show two more sections which are very small, and then I will speak about how this information can be used. And one of them is the foreign donation. And here, besides main projects, we also have possibility to show different foreign donations. Such as, for example, the government has received a fuel tank as a donation. We can input this information by mentioning the fuel tank, the name, the related project, the donor, and the donation cost. And also it's possible to register these foreign donations independently. Now let's come back to your question, Sergey, and show how we can use all of this data in our analytics and reporting section. So with the help of this data, we can generate various reports and create statistics with the help of our robust and very flexible reporting system. And we can use this information to show the government overall the impact these projects are having on the overall country, and also to identify gaps and identify places that will need extra work. This is one dashboard that we have created with several type of reports, and I would like to mention that all of these reports are very easy to create by using our system, and I will show you an example of how this process is done. So in the given dashboard, we capture various information such as the number of projects that are registered in the system. For example, currently we have 108 projects and around 85 contracts, and the overall project cost is around 303 million USD, out of which 128 million commitments have been made. And the disbursements constitute 63 million USD.
Cyrianos, I have one quick question. So basically in reporting, we have data from projects, from contracts, and from foreign donations. So it's not separate, right?
Yes, it's a very good question. So all this data works together in order to give us a very full reporting of all aspects of the system. And let me just show with an example. For example, here we can see the commitments that are made per project sector. And here we can see the project sectors, for example, administrative and support service activities, education, environment, and we can see how many projects have been carried out within each sector, the total project costs under each sector, also the commitment and the disbursement amounts. Based on this report, we can see that, for example, the largest number of projects are carried out under economic development, with a total of 29 projects, with a project cost of 99 million USD and commitment of 28 million. As you can see, we have possibility of creating not only tables, but different type of reports, pie charts, bar graphs. In the next table, we have tried to show the project cost distribution by sector. So this is a more breakdown structure of the report I just showed above. And here we can see the projects under each sector and a breakdown of their cost.
And how many types of different reporting tools do we have? Can we see the variations that exist in this system?
As you can see here, we can create speedometer charts, column and bar charts, combination charts, pie charts, maps, timelines, radar charts, tables. So it really depends on the user and what kind of data that the given user is trying to show, what kind of report that the given user is trying to create.
There's just one last thing that's very interesting that I want you to share to our audience, which is the map, because we saw that on project level, you added the location of the project. And we maybe see how the mapping is done in reporting section as well.
Of course. So I will show in two examples. So we can add the locations in general reports, like in this pie chart. We are trying to see the commitments per project location. For example, we can see that the Grand Anse and Bel Air regions of the Seychelles Island receives the largest amount of commitments. Or we have possibility to show it in a more interactive way with the help of a map. As you can see here, we have the map of the Seychelles, and again we can see the total amount of the project cost per region. So this is a more interactive and a more visual way of understanding how the donor funds are distributed.
Perfect. Siranush, thank you for showing us the reporting section of the system as well. I have a very important question to Heike. Okay, we want to discuss the differences in policies in different countries and how basically we can ensure the adaptability of the system where the processes change. How can we ensure the sustainability of the system with the evolving needs of the government? Heike, maybe you can comment on that part.
Sure, thanks. So as I mentioned, the needs from country to country always are different. So we worked in so many countries, there is no single case when two requirements are identical. So the idea of having something perfect that will work for everyone will not work here. So you have to have something flexible that can be adapted under the specific needs of the country. So as I mentioned it, in the third approach, which is kind of hybrid approach, will be good to have some powered components or blocks, then try with low-code approach to design whatever is needed for the specific case. So my suggestion is now to do a quick journey over those main components. We can start from the how you're starting designing a new system and see how it goes to the end. Sure, I will not have time to dive in too much in details, but still let's go through the main components so it will be more clear what I mean by that. Okay, so let me share my browser. Okay, so let's imagine now that you want to design a new system. So you're doing need assessment, you understand the scope. So as a first step, as I mentioned it, understanding the scope. So you're defining your data structure, because I'm sure many of you, when looking at the presentation that Siranush was doing, you were thinking, but in my country, this is a bit different. I want to track programs. I name them not project, but programs. Or I want to have not contract, but activities under that. Under the activities have tasks. So the variations are millions. So you cannot consider or predefine all the options so they can just pick it. So they should be able to design new approach as it is needed for the specific case. So the first step will be to define the data structure, okay? Which means what you want to capture, what are the links between them, are there any validation specific rules? So you're defining the overall structure. So for that, we need the entity builder or knowledge builder, where you are defining all the main items or understandings or entities of your structure. So for this specific case, I'll present on the same system so you can see the parallels. So we have our projects, we have our contracts. I can create new ones if I need to. So let's see how it looks. Just a quick one. So when I am defining my project, as in need assessment phase, I already know what type of data I want to capture. I want to capture its location. I want to capture maybe who are the donors, in which sector it is having. So in this section, where I have sections and fields, and I have controls here to create new ones, I am defining my data structure, okay? So the knowledge builder is creating the database structure based on the knowledge that you are providing here. So you don't have to go in database and manually create them and all that stuff. So from the UI, you are defining the structure. It is generating the database behind it. But still, we don't have data. This is about the structure. So as a next step, I have to define tools how my users will be able to manage that data. I mean, to enter that, to modify that, to view that. So for that, we need forms. It can be view form, edit form, to work with data. So for that, we can go and see form management, where you are defining forms for your entities. So as an example for the project, I will zoom in a bit. So for project, I define it view and edit form, and one just for testing. This is a testing environment. Actually, even edit and view forms can be more than one, because for the same data, different users, maybe you want to give them a different forms to work different part of data, so it is completely fine. You can define several forms, okay? So let me open one of them, sorry.
And Haik, is this something that is done by a software developer or by the administrator at the ministry? Can you detail a little bit more that part?
Yeah, actually, if I will refer to my to the example that I brought in the beginning for the Seychelles case, system analysts did all this job, and it is how usually it's happening. What that means that you see, I didn't use any technical knowledge, any software development skills. With user interface, with knowing the tool, I'm able to design this. And as you can see now, I'm in data entry form in design mode. So this is not about entering data. This is designing the form, how it should look and how it should function. And as you see, it doesn't require any scripting, any special knowledge there. So I'm just designing it. Sorry, I pressed refresh button, so it will load. So in this section, I'm defining all the controls that I need to have in my form. I'm not designing it from the scratch. I clicked edit, so I see all the controls. Now let's assume I want to add a new section there. So I have my cards here. I can just drag it, drop up here, and I will not have new section. I can give some name to it. I can say my new section. Then I can define what I want to have in that section. So as in the beginning, we defined our data structure. This means the system already have the knowledge. So it already knows that for project, what fields you can have, theoretically, because you already defined the structure in the first step. So all that tree with all its sections and fields is here. So I can drag anything and have it in my data entry form. For example, if I want to have there my approval date, so I want it to be manually entered, I'm just dragging and dropping it on the section, so the field is here. Okay, so the system, again, based on the knowledge that I provided, it understands that approval date field has a type date, so by default it is providing a coding control for that, so which is calendar control. So with this easy approach, kind of, I am defining my form and it is ready, so my users can use them to enter data for the projects and for the contracts, for activities, for everything I will define.
Hi, sorry. What about the data? So once the data is entered, is it directly going to the database or it's in some type of preview mode? What is the situation on that part?
Okay, I will come that in a second. So just saying that after I designed my forms in the portfolio page, sure, if I am administrator, I have permission to design the forms, because anytime I change the form, it will be changed for everyone. So not all users should have that permission. But after I designed my form, then in the project portfolio page, those forms will be available for the users. And you are looking the view forms that Cyrianos was presenting for the project. So if I will open any of the projects, it will be in the view form that I just designed. If I have permission, I can click edit, then it will transfer to edit mode, then I can enter my data. So as simple as it could be. So coming back to your question, Sergey, is like after I enter it, sure, it is going to the database. But let's see what we had by now. We had our data structure, we have our forms, how to collect that data, but we don't want to design just a data repository where I will keep my data and that's it. I want to define also processes that should happen. For example, if we're talking about the project, maybe it is, when it is newly created, it is in concept node phase or it is in a draft state, then it should be reviewed by someone, then it should go to, let's assume, Prime Ministry Office for approval or Committee of Ministers approval. So the processes that I have in real life, I should be able to define in the system because they should be in line. So as our long years practice is showing, whenever they are separated, you are having a big problem because like people don't want to do something in real life and enter something else in the system. That's why we need the third main component, which is business process management or workflow management tool. Now let's go here, which is fine. Now we have our project data structure. We have our tools to enter, to collect data for that. Now we want to define how the process will be, like the life cycle of the project. So I can create new processes, but let me open. So for project, this is a simple, for demo, we created with few steps. So you can see it is starting from the start and logically going with the steps. Adding new step is again very easy. I can click here, say new state, click add. Here it is, my state. Then I am defining, like in the life cycle, where this state should happen. So I can say from the draft state, there should be two choices, either to go to submitted state or come to my new state. Then I am defining the name, the action name that should send project to the new state. It can be, I don't know, send to the new state. Click add. So I have this action. Okay, so we built, let's say, the next layer, which is the processes. I'm defining all the processes, which can be very complex. In reality, they are not being as simple. It can be 40, 50 states, no limitations, so you're defining everything here. Okay, then the next is like who can do what, because by now we define it kind of everything for everyone. But this is not part of reality, so I should be able to define different roles, different permissions to be able to manage all that stuff. So for that, we have user management, which is like the main concept is the most classic three-layer security, three-layer kind of roles definition, which is like roles, groups, and users. Let me come here. You can see my roles, users. I can also have my organizational chart for a bit more complex security management. So for the roles, I'm defining, let's say for guest role, I'm defining what workflow actions can do, which are the arrows in the business process. So who can change the state from which state to which state, who can modify the project in each state, who can modify specific fields, because, for example, if the project, let's assume, is approved, then the cost should be like fixed. No one should be able to change. If they want to change, they have to move it to another state. So all this logic that I have in real life, I should be able to define in the system. So for that, I have roles, users, and groups. Okay. A bit more complex part here is when you are defining like event-based action, which is, if I will try to simplify it, is like what if this kind of questions answering. For example, you can define a rule when saying if the concept note has been created for which the budget is more than 1 million USD, then it should go to somewhere else for approval. So these what if conditions and also what should happen under certain conditions, you are again defining all of them here. Okay, so after you define all this structure, you are good to go. So you have your data structure, you have your data entry forms, you have business processes, and you have your users who are configured correctly to see what they need. As a result, I can say is a dashboard management where you can already, okay, you capture it all data, validate it in the right format. Now you want to take that data, analyze that data. So that was the part that Sinanush already presented, where you can create different type of charts, reports, doing analysis, exporting, sharing externally, because you have also possibility to share reports externally, because in many cases governments wants to be more transparent. So some reports, they want to make them available publicly, which is fine. So they can create a dashboard or create a report and share it publicly or put it in their website. So it will be up to date all the time, and there is no need for manually like exporting and importing there. Yeah, I think this was in general the main components or main builders that are being used. Sure, there are much more. I think from the menu you saw that there are more, but the main core components are those. So you can define all the system from beginning to the end.
Perfect. Thank you, Haik. And if you have any other questions, please submit your questions in the group chat. We already have a couple of questions, and I think, Haik, we will start with one question, I think, addressed to you. The question is the following: how much of the data from the example of Seychelles is automatically fed from IATI? Or in this scenario, maybe the data is entered manually, and if so, by whom it is usually done? And the second part of the question is the data structure in line with, let's say, OECD international data classification standards?
Yeah, to be honest, I don't have all the details with numbers for this specific question because I was involved in the very beginning. But how in general we're doing in this, in such scenarios, we're starting from the needs. So if the needs are this scope, then defining that scope, having the training, like piloting the system, making sure that it is covering the needs, then linking with external systems, because like for IATI as well, the integration can be both ways. So they can share, I mean, Seychelles can share their data to IATI. So like after defining the scope, defining what are the transactions, what it should be transferred from where to where, then that part is becoming available because Synergy IDM has built-in integration component, which is allowing easily to integrate with any external systems.
Perfect. And since we're speaking about integration, during our first session, we learned that the AMIS of Seychelles later on, not now, is going to be connected with the IFMIS used in a country. Haik, maybe you can tell us a little bit more about the concept of centralized integration hubs for unified data management, both, let's say, for exporting the information to other systems, including IATI and so on. And maybe you can tell us if the fashion that these hubs are contributing to better aid coordination and information sharing amongst the other development partners.
Yeah, actually, this question is something that is being discussed more and more last years. And I think the core idea is coming from the fact that if you will look at almost any government's priorities or strategies for upcoming years, almost everywhere you will see that digitalization as an important component, which means as a result they are getting a lot of different systems in different sectors, in different ministries, then having an issue with data sharing, because like everyone developed their own system, they are keeping it in the format that they think is correct, so it can be different formats, different technologies for the systems. But the issue with keeping duplication in the data is very, very dangerous kind of, because if you will keep the same data in different systems, you cannot be sure that they are all up to date all the time. So you will have differences in the same data, which is, as I said, is a dangerous thing for having any problems with that. So the idea is becoming crucial to have some rules, let's say, for the game. I mean, if you are developing a new system, you have to follow the rules that the government will put on the table. Usually this is being kind of a separate institution who is doing all that job, defining standards. So all systems within the government that are being developed, they should follow the standards. This should allow them to choose the technology. It should not put them in a situation like when you have to pick this system or nothing else. It should be more general, but many countries already successfully came to that, and we were part in such situation in some countries where the integration bus or integration hub has been established, which is defining the rules of data sharing across parties. So when new system is being designed and developed, they should follow the rules. And after it is ready, they are just plugging into those hubs and sharing data. Sure, sharing data, taking into account security issues, because you are defining who can see what, but you are solving several issues like data security, as I mentioned it. You have centralized rules that they all should have to follow. You are solving duplication issue, because in this case, in all scenarios that I have seen, there is a strict rule that only data owner should keep the data. The others should take it, use it, either delete it or have it in like temporary mode, knowing that this is not necessarily up to date. So if you need this data, then the owner is this guy, kind of, you have to ask them each time. So this is making sure that the data for everyone is one, not repeating, and up to date all the time.
Okay, and if you have any other questions, please submit the questions in the group chat. We have another one regarding project data. And Haik, Siranush, you can decide who is going to answer to that question, which is the following. Can you elaborate on who, meaning the users, will enter the data about the projects and contracts, and how the system will validate and authenticate the data?
Yeah, Siranush, maybe you can take this.
Sure. So basically, most of the time it is the employees of the ministry that will input the data, and to ensure that the data is of good quality, we have various validations in place, which will ensure that data with good quality is inputted. In other cases, there might even be integration with different registries, state registries, where it is possible to receive certain information automatically. This is another approach which will ensure data quality.
And hi, can you maybe show us some of the places where those validations can be configured in the system?
I can show maybe the simple ones. So let me go back to the entities. So when you are defining your entities, you have here validations. Entities, just a reminder, it's your data structure. So after you've defined sections and fields for your entity, for this case it's a project, so we define it that the project should have the following sections, and under each section we're defining the fields. Then here in validation section, we will see all the fields that we have defined so far. And for them, we can define here, to keep it simple, I'm showing duplication and required validation, the most simple ones. More complexes you are defining in like rules when you are defining. So you can say that approved is required, and that's it. The validation message will be generated in the form whenever you will use this approved field, then it will come with required validation.
Basically, it's very clear that the Synergy Development Assistant Database and furthermore variations based on the system, different aid management systems, play a crucial role in enhancing transparency and accountability. And during this session, we covered a lot, from assessing government readiness to making the aid management system smarter, from configuring the system to empowering local IT teams and helping them overall change the system as they use it even more. And in case anyone from the participants is willing to get a demo access to the system, make sure to write to our email and we will share with you the credentials of the demo system. And as well, we will send you all the recordings during the next week too. Thank you all for your time. Thank you to my colleagues for their effort in organizing these sessions. Thanks to our PFM software developers for their invaluable work. And thank you to our audience for being extra active during all the online sessions. We look forward to more discussions and collaborations in future. Please stay connected with us on our online platforms for future insights, updates, and so on. Thank you and have a great day.